Hi, St. Martin's. This is Mother Justy, and I am with you today talking about our new offertory sentence. And our new sentence for the season of Pentecost is very apropos because it is about the Holy Spirit. Pentecost is when we celebrate the coming of the Holy Spirit to the church. And so this sentence is from Romans 8:26, and I'll read it out loud first. The Spirit helps us in our weakness, for we do not know how to pray as we ought. But that very Spirit intercedes with sighs too deep for words. And God, who searches the heart, knows what is the mind of the Spirit, because the Spirit intercedes for the saints according to the will of God. And again, that's Romans 8:26. And I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, that is so long. I'm never going to memorize that. It's too hard. Well, I thought the same thing, and I do that every time we change it. I think this one's hard, but what I did was I wrote it down, wrote the whole sentence down. The Spirit helps us in our weakness, for we do not know how to pray as we ought, but that very Spirit intercedes with sighs too deep for words. And God, who searches the heart, knows what is the mind of the Spirit, because the Spirit intercedes for the saints according to the will of God. Man, still seems long. So next thing I do, and I'll show you. Next thing I do is I write down just the first letter of each word. And that's how it shows up in our bulletin. Just looks like a jumble of letters, but let me see how I do. The Spirit helps us in our weakness, for we do not know how to pray as we ought. But the very Spirit intercedes with sighs too deep for words. And God, who searches the heart, knows what is the mind of the Spirit, because the Spirit intercedes for the saints according to the will of God. Okay, so that was correct. I had to check myself, and I have done this a couple of times today. So I had a head start on you guys, but it really only took me 5 minutes total to write it down, to just write down the first letter, and to go back and forth until I could say it pretty easily, just looking at the capital letter of the beginning of each word. So I know some of you might be shy about saying it in front of the whole congregation, but I encourage you to try to learn it, and not just to learn it for the sake of memorizing it, but to think about it. It's a beautiful passage. What does it mean to have prayers that are filled with sighs that are too deep for words? What does it mean for God to search the heart? What do we think Paul is getting at? And how does the Spirit help us in our weakness? Those are all things for us to think about, that you could talk about as a family. You could look up where it is in Romans 8:26, what Paul is talking about in his letter. And then learning to memorize it can just be a little game, a fun thing that you do at the start of each day. Or like I said last time, I keep the letters by my computer. So when I have a second, I just look over and practice it. So again, encourage you to learn it, practice it, know it, write these words on your heart. And I hope that it is a way for you to enter this new Pentecost season. Thank you, and see you guys soon. Bye.